deemed the celebrity whisperer by Playboy.
This is the best interview of the day.
Thanks for having me.
You hit the nail on the head.
100%.
Period, yeah.
Touch them. They're cracking me up.
Wear them, baby. She's good.
Taylor Ferber.
Quit being such a little bitch. You know what? I'm sorry. I don't know who needs to hear this, but it is somebody out there because you know what? I have had enough. I have had enough of this I am a little bitch mentality culture. And so today we are really, it is time, people. It is time. We are going to separate the water boys and girls from the Tom Bradys. I mean, seriously, look at yourself in the mirror and think, okay? In today's Talk to Me, Taylor, hard ass TED Talk, are you a loser or are you a winner? Okay, so today, if you haven't caught my drift by now, we are talking all things sports because you know what? The sports are sportsing what? You think I can't talk about sports? What? Because I'm a blonde, I can't talk about sports? Okay, newsflash, it's going down today, okay? No overtime, bitch. How's that for sports lingo? But there have been a couple of things that have been playing out that have coalesced and unfolded at the same time. And I feel like there's a broader picture here. You know how I do, you know how we roll. The broader picture here dealing with this culture of entitlement, which in my opinion, like move over Fauci, you have had your time because that shit is the true pandemic. So we are on the heels of the Tom Brady induction into the Patriots Hall of Fame. And I am representing today. And you know what? I'm not wearing the number 12 Pats jersey, okay, but I am in spirit. And you know what, guys? I didn't choose the Amazon life. It chose me. Okay. And also, I love my Pats. You know, I'm a New England girl, born and bred. I love my Pats, but I got to say, I don't think the Pats merch store loves us so much. Like justice for the girls with tits who also want to represent the Pats because their merch it ain't doing it. Okay. So you're welcome. Like we got the crop, we got it going on. Like we are trying to be Cinderella. Their stuff is like giving Cinderella's mop, okay? So I have this like knockoff Patriots jersey by Amazon, but again, you're welcome. It's doing the job. It is a 00 number, so I don't know exactly what that means, but you know what? Choose your own adventure. So needless to say, I'm here repping Tom Brady today. And I have to say, I watched his speech and it literally made me cry, okay? Because yeah, I know, I cry. Are you learning things today? I'm blonde. I talk about sports and I cry. Okay. But I just loved this. It was just such a moment and it was really powerful. Right. And he talks about point blank, life is hard. Life's hard. And it is hard. Like buck up because it is hard. Something that the masses have forgotten. And I really just loved how he drives home these themes of not only himself, but his teammates of such a lost art, right? And something that's so rare these days. He talks a lot about what it takes to be a champion and to win, the discipline and the integrity and the purpose and focus and commitment and dedication to that, right? To that greatness. And you might be sitting back thinking, oh, Tom Brady, he's a little pretty boy. He's like doing all these shenanigans. He's getting roasted. And then like saying he regrets it and blah, 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 blah. Let's not forget his humble beginnings, okay? Something that I love about Tom Brady is that innate drive that he had. He wasn't always the GOAT, people. Let's not forget, like that innate drive and that chip on his shoulder, okay? Because back in the day, before that jaw was chiseled, okay, enough to like break your eyeballs, he was the 6th round draft pick, okay? And wait for this, the 199th overall NFL pick that year. Like, hey, not 198, not 198 and a half, 199. And my favorite part, not only that Tom Brady really rose to the occasion and achieved such greatness. But as soon as he was taken on the Patriots, he went to Robert Kraft, the owner, and told him, this is the best decision that you'll ever make. And I love that confidence. Instead of like wallowing in his sorrows of being the 6th round, the 199th overall, and being like, woe is me, what an obstacle, what don't they see, letting his ego get involved. He stepped up to the plate immediately and showed up and showed the fuck out, right? Again, what a rarity these days when everybody wants every goddamn thing handed to them without lifting so much as a goddamn pinky finger. And so what really resonated for me in his speech is talking about like the really nitty gritty that we don't usually hear, talking about the hardships. Again, that's so rare these days because everybody's so like lazy, entitled, and while we're at it, fat, right? Fat, entitled, and lazy. But the real commitment that it takes. You know, he talked about all of the times when he was younger and it was 90 degrees in the boiling hot, brutal summer. And he, you know, you're in gear and you have to show up in your practice. When all of your friends are doing backflips in the swimming pool, you know, or say it's off season and you have to get your ass up at 6 a.m. and get out and practice and train and condition when your friends are all off on break and strolling out of beds and watching cartoons and eating pancakes. Like that is the kind of commitment and the drive that I'm sorry, people don't want to give and people don't want to do. And the reason that this was so like, it was so crazy how I watched this at this time personally, because I've noticed even in my personal life, I've been really taking on people to train them for Operation Sex Goddess Body, which if you don't know is a journey that I'm so proud of. And I started, I'm actually coming up on 2 years. And it was a journey in which I decided, you know what? I want to craft out the body of my dreams. And I learned from the bottom up all about diet and weight training and exercise and everything you need to know. And I made it mine and mastered it and achieved what I set out to achieve in half of the amount of time. And I maintain it to this day, right? And I always say to people, it is almost like an athlete mindset, like that commitment and focus every single day. And I've had people as of late that I've told about this journey who are like, oh yeah, I want to hop on. It sounds all great and dandy, just like being a football player until you actually have to do it, right? So I've had women and people say to me, oh, like, really? Like, do you go that, like, you won't eat these fries or like go out with your friends drinking? Or like, do you ever cheat? I had someone say to me the other day, you know, what is your cheating schedule? Like 80%, 20%? And I'm looking at her dead ass. I'm like, maybe like 98 too. Like no joke, in the gym 6 days a week. And I walk the walk and I practice what I preach. Take the last 24 hours. Okay. This bitch, I was working out last night until 11:30 at night. Got my ass up. Not so fresh as a daisy, but that's the point. I pushed myself anyway and got in like a hard ass Hulk Hogan-esque hour at 8 a.m. today. And here I am, no hesitations, did I stutter to present to you all. And so that's where I get, when people ask me to get on board for this is not, at least for my journey, right? This isn't like a Nazi Jillian Michaels, like you need to eat water for dinner and get skinny. Like that's not what it's about, at least for me, right? For me, it's about achieving, first of all, and maintaining the body of my dreams that I want. But not only that, the mindset I want and the power that I want. And so sorry, it's like, sorry, not sorry, but it's kind of like with all this, it's like roll with or roll out, do it or don't. And again, I say, like, don't be a little bitch. Like, if you want to do it, then do it. And I have had, that's why what Tom Brady said resonated with me so much, because I've had so many times where I've been out at big events and they're pouring drinks and hors d'oeuvres and my friends are there. And I literally will leave in my Skechers and go to the gym, right? How many sacrifices I've made, time I've given up with family. This is my commitment, okay? I went out when the apocalyptic rapture happens in Nashville, there's so much as one snowflake here and the entire town literally freezes over like it's the Ice Age sequel. Every business closes. I show up to the gym, knocking on the door, a diehard. I clawed my way out of the ice sculpture that was my car and brought my ass to the gym, and they were closed. Like, that is the dedication that you have to have, right? That's so rare. So again, like, do it or don't. Be a loser or be a winner. Sorry. Like, there's no in between in my mind. Point blank. We're in a world of extremes, and that one bitch is one that I can get behind. Okay. So the point with all of this is, yes, like, I ride or die by the TB12 mindset. Like, this guy, after winning 5, 6 Super Bowls, is sitting back and eating flapjacks and making s'mores? Absolutely not. Okay. And so that's what it is. Like, that is the mindset and the commitment. So the point of this is, Tom Brady became what he became, not only despite setbacks, but because of the rules. Because of the rules and the way the cookie crumbled and the way of the game, right? And the way that it all unfolded. And yet, amidst that structure, amidst those rules, he rose to the top and rose to the occasion, right? And gave me a rise and my lady boner along the way. But the reason, of course, why this is so striking and inspiring and special, just at face value, right? And me personally, too, for what I've achieved in the journey that I continue to be on, is what we're seeing in contrast to the TB12 mindset. So, funny enough, as all of this is playing out, what happens but the Leah Thomas Olympics controversy? So, in short, as you know, I've talked about Leah Thomas on the show, and she is the first trans female swimmer to win the NCAA championship, which, like, in my opinion, was a sham. I'm going to get to that in a second, right? So basically, the Olympics, if you want to be specific, it is the court of arbitration for sports. Okay. So yes, the sports are sporting. Again, don't cross me as I read them so closely with my binoculars, the name of the thing. Okay. So the Court of Arbitration for Sport made rules to protect biological women in their swimming lanes, in their game, and basically stated that people who experienced puberty through boyhood, right, who have transitioned, aren't allowed to compete with women. And what they did do, which I actually thought was a brilliant idea, and I've been advocating for this for a long time, is create an open category to where any gender could compete. So what happens? Leah Thomas tries to, I'm moving my papers all around, about to flip the table though. Leah Thomas tries to get this overturned and challenge it. And she calls this move discriminatory, invalid, unlawful, disappointing, like every name, like par for the course, as someone who needs a participation trophy in the book, right? Like exactly what you would expect. And I'm not being critical of Leah Thomas because of her sexuality, because of this, that, the other thing. I honestly could care less. The problem I have is, first of all, like, do your thing, but be fair and quit stepping on other people. In this case, quit stepping on women. And for me, this isn't even about the biology of it all and how it just purely doesn't make sense. And like I said, I actually think this move did make sense. But for me, it's about the bigger picture, again, of the entitlement and the mindset. So this reminded me, right, of when I had Riley Gaines on my show. And what struck me about that conversation, and if you don't know a little bit of the backstory, Riley Gaines was a really fierce college swimmer and athlete. And she notoriously tied in the NCAA, tied for the championship, literally like down to the millisecond, basically, with Leah Thomas. But out of political correctness, and Riley explains the whole thing on my show, the NCAA, to like save face and look like woke and cool and social justice warrior, gave the trophy to Leah Thomas. Now, again, at the face of this, you can like be all up in arms and, I'm going to address how conservatives most of the time view this versus like the woke side, which just completely throws any sort of common sense or biology like out the window. It just truly never even stood a chance. But the part for me is, first of all, like as a woman, of course, but even that Tom Brady-esque element of it, where Riley told me about training every single day. Again, when all of her friends, I've been in the South way too damn long. Somebody come and rescue me, send me an SOS. I'm sending an SOS. When all of her friends, right, were out and, doing fun things and making friendship bracelets and probably doing seances to Taylor Swift or whatever it is they do, she would be out dusk till dawn, swimming her little tail away, training, pushing herself to be the best, to be the champion. And after all of those years of commitment and sacrifice, what happens? But out of political correctness, it's handed to someone like Leah Thomas. How defeating and how upsetting, right? So that for me is what was really so crazy about seeing all of this. It's like, again, I've been on my Atlas Shrugged kick lately, right? All about autonomy and individualism and power and control. And it's a little bit like, sorry, but nobody owes you shit, right? And it's kind of the same idea as like, I don't know anybody's shit. And you know what? They don't owe me shit either. And so it's a hard pill to swallow in this day and age, given that everybody thinks that they are handed everything all the time. Like these Zers literally think they need a raise. I'm like, sweetheart, you haven't even left your living room. Like, what are we even talking about here? A raise for what? For making a piece of toast today that actually your mom did for you and gave it to you, but by obligation, you should get, like, please make it make sense. And so this was a perfect example of that. It's kind of like Leah Thomas, like, not what more do you want, but it's like you already were given and handed this to you when it was completely unfair. And I honestly feel like this person would get so much more mileage if they acknowledge that truth. Like, you know what? Let's be fair here, or here's what makes sense, or I'm going to compete in a way that makes sense and rise to the top, instead of this nonsense. Like, you would just get so much further. And it's also why I think, conservatives tend to go a little bit hard when it comes to this. They will argue that people like Leah Thomas will maybe they'll say they're just not as good as a guy and they want to win. So what do? They transition to become a woman and compete with the females and then they'll win. Like, I obviously don't think that. I mean, listen, I'm all about commitment. That is a little bit aggressive. Like, that is a little too committed for me. I don't know if anyone would actually go to those lengths unless they're a little bit like unhinged and deranged. But, and I would even argue, right? Maybe Leah Thomas, it is training as hard as a Riley Gaines. Like, I'm not here to knock her love of the sport. Like, she even said it all is it's so disappointing because the Olympics are like shutting down our identity and the strive that we have as being an athlete. Like, bitch, I'm not saying that, right? Again, I'm not even arguing that you train less or you're not putting in the work or that you're lazy or this or that. Maybe you are training as hard as Riley, but you know what? You're just not as good as an athlete. Okay, again, that's the way that I don't know how else to slice it. Again, it's the way that the cookie crumbles. Like, what do you want? But to me, again, why this was so striking is because in contrast to the Tom Brady situation, it's just, to me, Leah Thomas is such it is like quintessential epitome of entitled, bratty, Gen Z, millennial, I deserve it, I need this, wah, 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 blah, 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 give me more. And think about it. First of all, we see it all of the time. This is why this shit is the actual, forget epidemic, this shit is the pandemic, okay? Because even take social media. You have these TikTokers, you have these influencers, same thing. These fuckers want to be famous. I'm like, what did you do for our lives? What did you do? Buy a Target lip balm, put it on, and suddenly you want to be Meryl Streep? Like, sweetie, put in the work. What did you actually do for your life today? So I personally feel like what would have been such a smart strategy is if Leah Thomas had the guts to go, you know what? Okay, they have this open category now. Guess what? I'm going to be the best of the best. I'm going to be the winner. I'm going to be the champion. And so put me in coach. Throw everybody in with or without balls, and I'm going to beat every single one of them. I'm going to show up and compete. But no, you cry like a little baby bitch. Now she's boycotting the Olympics and like packing up your toys and going home. Like, do you want to be a champion or not? It's what I said in the beginning. Quit being a little bitch. Okay. Sorry, it's the harsh truth. And you know what? Like, people need to hear it. Okay. Like, even Simon Cowell's gone soft. And I've met Simon many times. He's the sweetest man ever. But like, even this guy's gone soft. And you know what? I am feeling soft. Like, on the whole, his culture. Okay. So we're talking soft, we're talking holes, we're talking double zeros on my shirt. I mean, honestly, you guys do with these entendres what you will. But the last piece of this puzzle is also in women's sports, in the arena of the Olympics, but the Caitlin Clark news and the Caitlin Clark controversy. Now, I know I talked about this a little bit in the last episode that I did, but Caitlin Clark, just as a little bit of a refresher, has really made crazy waves in women's basketball. She like basically put it on the map, and it's like a whole identity politics thing because people are like, oh, she's a straight white woman. Like, honestly, please like get a life and read a book. But, Caitlin and she's brought, broken records of viewership in women's sports games, like selling out jerseys, right? Like just creating a lot of buzz. And I feel like overall, from what I've seen, she has a really good attitude. And it was very controversial because for being somebody who's so stand out in women's basketball, she was snubbed from the Olympic team. So, and there's all kinds of speculation as to why. I saw a quote from the Olympics. I think that this is such garbage, but I saw a quote that said they didn't have Caitlin on because she's a rookie. She'd get like tossed around. She wouldn't get as much game time, and therefore her fans would be upset. So to me, like that was such bullshit. Okay, so you're going to punish the fans. Wouldn't they rather see her in the game? But also it's giving participation trophy again. It's like, okay, even if she wasn't playing that much, like you're going to coddle the fans, but now you're going to punish the fans. Like it's literally just all such nonsense. And these sports have just become a bunch of like, they are just all a bunch of pussies overall. Okay, I have to just say. And so looking from my vantage point, that is my 2 cents on that. You can challenge me on that. But my point about this is that there were also some other parameters, right? She didn't meet this, she didn't meet that, this, that. Because you have people who played in it like a million times. You have like Brittany Griner's, like all of them, right? Brittany Griner's of it all playing. But there's, like I said, some parameters. She didn't meet the rules, right? Here we go again with the rules set in place. Fair enough. So my favorite part about this, though, was that she was such a gracious loser. And she said, you know what? First of all, she said, like, I'm happy for them. I can't wait to see them, compete and represent and all this. But what was so powerful is how she said, this is just more motivation. You'll see. This is just more motivation, this rejection. You will see. I'll be there in 4 years and then I can play in the Olympics, right? In the Olympic game. And that to me was so striking. Again, it's really that Tom Brady mindset. And so when you look at a Leah Thomas and when you look at a Caitlin Clark back to back, you think about it, it's like, okay, they were both rejected and they both could have had this mindset, right? But instead, one chose to take it and be gracious and stand in her power with it and use it as motivation, like Tom Brady did. Or one could just, again, like, whine and kick and scream and like throw her hands up and be like, I'm not going, I'm going home. And that is the name of the game, people. You gotta play by the rules. And that's why I even joked earlier about the NFL, because you'll have some of the NFL OGs who are like, these people are such pussies, they would never hack it, okay? Because this league has become infiltrated by the biggest pussies ever, right? Because the rules in the NFL are changing all of the time, made by the owners, right? In the league who are always changing the rules. But what happens, the players then have to adapt, play within these rules, play by the rules, and still within those confines, step up and achieve greatness. So with all of this, it really had me thinking, like a Tom Brady, like a Caitlin Clark, using the rules or the system as motivation. And you know me, I'm very much like a fuck the system person, but I don't see, nor have I ever in my life, a time that I personally would succeed or even send the message by just packing up and going home. Like, what is that going to do, right? What is that going to do either for the larger point or the organization at large or even yourself? So in my mind, with all of this, again, how do you rise above any setbacks or rules or adversity? My mind, you can go one of two ways, okay, to bring it all back. You can be a Leah Thomas, kicking, screaming, whining, and just boycotting and staying home. Or you can be, for talking Atlas Shrugged, a John Galt and a Tom Brady. What's it going to be?